Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Clarity Fiber Arts podcast. I wanted to film this little tutorial today because I was getting ready to sit down and sew the buttons on my granddaughter's cardigan that I knit her, and I thought some of you might find it helpful if I showed you how I sew the buttons on my cardigans so that they're nice and secure and not floppy. And most importantly, that this join lasts over time with pulling back and forth on the button band. And so the method that I use excuse me, is a 2-button method, and I'm going to show you that now. So I want to first start with my sewing thread. I try and buy something a little bit heavier. I buy the ones used for like household, like sewing pillows and things like that. I fold it over into a loop with the two ends together like this. And then I go ahead and thread both of those strands through the needle. Okay, and I leave myself a pretty good long tail so I can catch that. Now, what I do is I try and pick a similar color to whatever I'm knitting, and then I put this button, you can see on here I have this button on the back side. Alright, so I go directly across from my buttonhole about the center, alright, on the other side. So the first thing I do is I bring my needle up through the button. Make sure you kind of pinch those tails a little bit. Flip it around. Come up through the other hole and up through this loop. Alright, and we're going to pull, grabbing those little tails again. And you can see that just puts a nice secure loop around the button. Okay, so now the button is attached. Again, keeping in mind where your little tails are the whole time, because if they pull out, you'll have to rethread the needle. All right, so we're going to go right across from the button hole about the middle of the button band. And so I'm going to come right in through here. I always just check that I'm right across. I use my needle to do so, and then I just pull up. Okay, and that button lies nice and flat there. Okay, so then I just do the traditional button sewing where I go in and out of the buttonholes to pull nice and tightly. Okay, just a couple of times to get that button on there. All right, so just up and down there. One more time. Alright, get my tails out of there. There we go. Okay, good. Alright, so that button's on there. That'll get more secure as we go. Alright, so next I'm going to come one more time up the hole, up through, and now I'm going to secure this button on. So we're going to come up through this hole. Okay. And then when I go back down, I'm going to try and do this left-handed. When I go back down, what I like to do is I don't try and go through both buttons at once. What I do is I come to the side of this button, I pull my thread through. All right, and then I find this hole and come up the hole there. That way I'm not trying to fish through both sides, both holes in the button. Okay, so I'll show you that again. I'm going to come in through this other hole, but not worry about hitting this button. And then I'm going to come right to the side here of this button, pull my thread, come up underneath the button and just find that hole and go through. So we're going to do that process one more time. I'm going to go down and through beside the pink button right there. All right, make sure my threads are nice and neatly pulled through there. I'm going to come up through the side on this hole here and around. Okay, so as you can see, this is getting nice and tight and secure. Okay, and on this next pass, I am going to come up into the side of this button just like before. And then I'm going to come up and underneath like I did before. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so we're going to come up through this buttonhole right here. Okay, so this is just going to bring this thread underneath this button. Okay, then I go down one more time, but not through the cardigan. I just go through this buttonhole right here and out the same, get that knitting out of there. Okay, good. Out the same side so that the thread is on the underneath of this button. And then to really just kind of secure everything together, I do something called a half hitch stitch, where I didn't leave myself quite enough thread here. I bring a loop around the button, and then I take my needle and come up and under and through that button. And then I pull, and I make sure that this thread is underneath when I pull. Okay, I'll pull my threads out. Okay, so when I pull there, it's securing everything sort of under the button. Okay, and then I do one more half hitch just to make sure everything is real nice and tight. So we come around the button. I put my finger in here sometimes just so I can keep things together. Up underneath. And this is going to knot it nice for me. Grab your threads there. Okay, and then when you pull, just make sure it's not on top of the button and it's knotting itself underneath there. And I pull that nice and tight. And then I clip off my ends just here. Watch your knitting at this part. Just underneath the button at the edge there. Okay. And as you can see, this button's on there nice and tight. All of the tension that will come from buttoning and unbuttoning the sweater will be placed on this button and not on the button band. So over time, you won't get that sort of tugging on the button band. When you pull this, it's really pulling kind of and putting tension on that underneath button. And this button is not going anywhere. We can put it through the buttonhole quite easily and not have tugging on your knitting. And so that's how I put my buttons on, and historically I've not had any trouble with floppy buttons or buttons falling off or button bands getting stretched out over time. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the other two buttons on this little cardigan. I have a first birthday party for my granddaughter later this afternoon, and I need to get those finished so I can get this beautiful sweater to her. Again, this is the Anchors jacket by Petite Knit. And if you're interested in the yarn that I used or the how I found the pattern, I'm going to be shooting another quick little video a little later this week. So be sure to subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and you will be able to hear a little bit about my experience with knitting this cute little jacket for her. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks so much, and have a great day.